Most gardeners think August means the season is winding down. Pull the tomatoes, clean up the beds, call a year. They're wrong. And that mistake is costing them the best harvest of the entire year. Because right now, in this exact window, professional growers are doing something almost no home gardener knows about. They're planting seeds. Not because they're desperate to squeeze out one more crop, but because August soil has a secret power spring soil doesn't have. It germinates seeds faster, sweeter, and stronger than any other time of year. There are exactly 7 crops that thrive in this window. Miss the deadline on even one of them, and you'll be staring at stunted, bitter, half-grown vegetables come November. Hit it right, and you'll be harvesting through Thanksgiving, through the first snow, some of them even into February. So today, we're breaking down all 7. The exact planting windows, the hidden science that makes autumn vegetables taste better than anything you grew in summer, and the one mistake that ruins almost every fall garden before it even starts. Let's get into it. Why August is a second spring. Here's the thing nobody tells you about your garden soil in August. It's still holding on to summer heat. 2 inches down, that soil can be sitting anywhere between 70 and 85 degrees Fahrenheit. And that heat is a superpower, if you know how to use it. Warm soil speeds up seed germination dramatically. Take beet seeds as an example. Plant them in cool 50-degree spring soil, and you're waiting 2 to 3 weeks just to see a sprout. Plant those same seeds in warm August soil, and they can break the surface in 5 to 7 days. That's less than half the wait. But here's where it gets interesting. As those seedlings grow up out of the soil, the world around them starts to change. The air cools down. The humidity drops. The sunlight gets weaker as the days shorten. So you get this incredible 1-2 punch. A fast, easy start thanks to warm soil, followed by a slow, cool finish thanks to autumn weather. And that combination produces something spring planting simply cannot. Denser, more flavorful, sweeter vegetables. Now, that raises an obvious question. If August is this good, when exactly do you need to plant by? Because plant too late, and none of this works. This is where most gardeners get it wrong. They look at the days to maturity number on a seed packet and count backward from their first frost date, thinking that's enough. It's not. That number on the packet was calculated under ideal spring conditions, with days getting longer and warmer. In fall, you're working against the opposite. Shrinking daylight and cooling temperatures that slow everything down. So agricultural extension services use a more precise formula. Take your average first frost date and subtract the days to maturity, plus your harvest window, plus a mandatory 14-day cushion called the fall factor, to account for that slower autumn growth. Let's make that real. Say you're growing 50-day carrots, and your first frost typically hits October 25th. You'd add 50 days of maturity, plus a 14-day harvest window, plus that 14-day fall factor. That's 78 days total. Count backward from October 25th, and your absolute deadline to get those seeds in the ground is August 8th. Miss that date, and you're left with small, underdeveloped roots that never had the chance to size up before growth stalls. So now you know when to plant. But here's the part that sounds backwards until you understand the biology behind it. The same heat that helps seeds germinate faster can also stop certain seeds from germinating at all. It's called thermodormancy, and it mostly affects 2 crops, lettuce and spinach. When their seeds sit in soil hotter than roughly 75 to 85 degrees, the seed actually produces a hormone that blocks it from sprouting. It's a built-in survival mechanism. The plant is essentially refusing to grow because conditions feel wrong, which means if you just toss lettuce or spinach seeds into hot August dirt with no plan, don't be surprised when nothing comes up. But stick with this because the payoff is worth it. Once these crops do get established and autumn arrives, something remarkable happens when the first light frosts roll in. Temperatures between 28 and 32 degrees trigger the plant to break down its stored starches into simple sugars. Those sugars act like a natural antifreeze, lowering the freezing point inside the plant cells, so ice crystals don't form and destroy them. And as a side effect, your vegetables get noticeably sweeter. This is the exact reason fall-grown kale, carrots, and spinach taste completely different and better than anything you harvested in July. Now, before we get into the 7 crops that make all of this work, there's one mistake that wrecks more fall gardens than anything else, and it has nothing to do with the 7 crops we're covering today. It's trying to direct sow the wrong crops. Tomatoes, peppers, watermelons, winter squash. Anything that needs real heat to grow. Planting those from seed in August is a dead end. They need temperatures above 50 degrees just to get moving, and the second a real frost hits, they're finished before they ever had a chance to produce anything. The same goes for slow brassicas like Brussels sprouts or big storage cabbages. Started from seed this late, they simply run out of time to form heads before winter shuts everything down. So keep your August energy focused on crops built for this exact window. And that brings us to the 7 that actually work. 1. Kale, the crop that survives anything. Let's start with the toughest plant on this list. Kale germinates across an enormous temperature range, anywhere from 40 all the way up to 100 degrees, which means hot August soil barely slows it down. In warm conditions, you'll see sprouts in 5 to 10 days. Here's why the timing matters so much. Sow kale in August, and you give it several weeks of warm weather to build a deep root system and a full leaf canopy before the days start shortening and growth slows. Then, once frost hits, that starch to sugar conversion kicks in, and the bitterness that usually turns people off kale disappears. Fall kale is genuinely a different vegetable than summer kale, and the harvest window is enormous. Established plants tolerate cold down to 10 to 20 degrees, meaning you can be pulling fresh leaves from September all the way through February in the right conditions. Regionally, it shifts a bit. In the Northeast and Midwest, you want seeds in the ground during the first 2 weeks of August. In the Southeast, you got more room. Mid-August through late September works fine. Pacific Northwest growers can sow all month long. One thing to watch for: pests like flea beetles and cabbage worms can shred young seedlings in under 48 hours if you're not paying attention. So a lightweight row cover right after sowing goes a long way. Now, kale gets all the attention for cold hardiness. But there's another leafy green that's even more particular about when you plant it, because get the timing wrong and it simply won't come up at all. 2. Spinach, the crop that needs a trick to germinate. Spinach is where that thermodormancy problem really shows up. Once soil temperatures climb past 75 to 85 degrees, spinach seeds essentially go to sleep and refuse to sprout. So if you're in a hot region, sowing spinach in early August without any adjustments is often a waste of seed. The fix growers use is simple but clever. Soak the seeds in cool water for 12 to 24 hours, then store them in a sealed bag in the fridge for 2 to 3 days before planting. This tricks the seed into thinking it's already gone through a cool period. Sowing in the late afternoon helps too, since the seed absorbs water overnight when soil temperatures are at their lowest. Why go through the trouble? Because spinach is a long day plant. It bolts when days stretch past 14 hours combined with heat. Sowing in August means the plant develops as days are shrinking, not growing, which is exactly what keeps it from flowering and turning bitter. And once cold hits, those leaves sweeten dramatically. University of Minnesota trials found August-sown spinach protected under low tunnels survive winter at a 90% rate, producing harvest a full month earlier than spring-sown crops the following year. Timing-wise, Northeast and Midwest growers should sow mid to late August. In the South, actually hold off until late August or even October, since early sowings just hit too much heat. So spinach needs you to outsmart the heat. Our next crop needs something different. It needs you to be patient with the soil surface, or the whole planting fails before it even starts. 3. Carrots, the root that rewards cold. Carrots are slow. Germination alone can take 10 to 21 days. And during that entire window, the soil surface has to stay consistently moist, or the emerging root tip simply dries out and dies. This is the single biggest reason carrot plantings fail in August. Gardeners let the top layer of soil crust over and dry out during that long wait. The trick professional growers use is sowing carrots twice as deep as usual, about half an inch instead of quarter-inch, to reach cooler, moister soil. Some cover the row with burlap or a wooden board to lock in moisture, checking daily and removing it the instant seedlings appear. Why push through all this effort? Because carrots that mature in cooling autumn temperatures develop noticeably higher sugar content and lose the soapy, harsh flavor compound that heat-stressed summer carrots often have. And once they're mature, you don't even need to harvest them right away. Carrots can sit in the ground all winter under a thick layer of straw mulch, essentially turning your garden bed into free cold storage. Penn State trials found carrots sown August 5th in mulch with 10 inches of straw were still producing high quality. Sweet roots clear through February. Your deadline matters here more than almost any other crop, since roots need 50 to 75 days of active growth. In colder zones, that means seeds need to be in the ground during the first week of August. Now, carrots take their time. But there's a crop on this list that does almost the opposite. It's ready in under a month, and it might just save your carrot patch in the process. For radishes, the fastest crop on this list. Radishes are the sprinter of the group. Some varieties are ready to harvest in as little as 20 days. That speed makes them perfect for filling gaps in your garden after summer crops finish, and it also makes them incredibly useful as a companion for slower crops. Here's a trick worth knowing. Mix a small amount of radish seed in with your carrot seed before sowing. Radishes germinate in just 3 days, so they poke through the soil first, marking exactly where your row is and physically breaking up any surface crust that would otherwise block the slower carrot seedlings underneath. By the time the radishes are ready to pull at 25 days, they've done their job and made room for the carrots to expand. Beyond that, radishes solve a problem spring plantings can't. Spring radishes often get hit by early heat spikes that make them pithy, woody, and unpleasantly hot. August-sown radishes mature in cool September and October conditions instead, which keeps them crisp, juicy, and mild. The bigger varieties, like winter daikon radishes, do even more. Their deep roots can fracture compacted clay soil. Utah State University research found August-seeded daikon produced 8 tons of biomass per acre, breaking up hardpan and reducing how much tilling was needed the following spring. Sow radishes every 7 to 10 days through August and into September, and you'll have a continuous harvest without ever running out. Radishes solve the speed problem. But there's a crop on this list that solves a completely different one. The one almost every home gardener gets wrong by planting way too close together. 5. Beets, the crop that needs space to succeed. Beets have a quirk most people don't know about. What looks like a single beet seed is actually a dried fruit containing 2 to 6 true seeds clustered together. That means even a light sowing produces a dense clump of seedlings, and if you don't thin them down to about 3 inches apart, you end up with a tangle of small, distorted roots instead of the big, sweet beets you were hoping for. Get the spacing right, though, and beets reward you twice over. You get iron-rich greens from the thinnings and full-size storage roots later on. Germination is fast in warm August soil, often just 5 to 12 days, and roots mature in as little as 50 days. Like the other root crops on this list, cooling autumn temperatures are what make beets worth growing in fall specifically. Heat causes woody texture and strange white rings inside the root, but the cooler finish produces intensely colored, notably sweeter beets. They're also fairly cold tolerant on their own. Holding up to light freezes down to 25 degrees. One extra tip if your soil is sandy or high pH. Beets are sensitive to boron deficiency, which shows up as dark, damaged spots inside the root. A very light borax drench can correct this, but the dosage has to be precise, since too much boron becomes toxic to plant. University of Georgia trials found red ace beets sown in August in compost-amended beds were producing harvestable roots in just 50 days. Beets need patience with spacing. The next crop needs patience with pests, because if you skip protection here, you could lose the entire planting in a matter of days. 6. Turnips, the crop most people get wrong in spring. Turnips are a strange case, because most gardeners' first experience with them is bad. Spring-planted turnips mature right as summer heat arrives, which turns them woody, sharp, and often riddled with root maggot damage. Naturally, people assume turnips just taste bad. Fall turnips are completely different vegetable. Sown in August, they mature in October and November, when shortening days and cool nights trigger the same sugar accumulation we've talked about with every other crop today. The result is mild, sweet, tender flesh instead of the harsh bite people associate with turnips. And they're seriously cold-hardy too, shrugging off repeated frost down to 20 degrees. The real danger with turnips isn't the cold. It's the pests that show up while the weather is still warm. Flea beetles specifically target turnip seedlings right as they emerge in August heat, chewing small shot holes through the leaves. A lightweight floating row cover, put down the moment you sow and left in place until the plants have 4 true leaves, prevents almost all of this damage. Like beets. Thinning matters here too. Seedlings need to end up 4 to 6 inches apart, where the roots stay small and never properly form. Texas A&M Extension recommends August 15th through September 25th as the ideal window for their region, producing a continuous harvest from October through January. Turnips prove that fall flavor can completely change how you feel about a vegetable. And our final crop does something even more dramatic. It's a plant that spring weather practically ruins and fall weather perfects. 7. Lettuce, the crop that hates summer. Lettuce and long summer days do not mix. Once daylight stretches past 14 hours combined with heat, lettuce bolts. It shoots up a flower stalk. The leaves turn bitter, and the whole plant becomes unusable almost overnight. That's the frustration most gardeners run into with spring lettuce. August flips the equation. Sowing now means the plant grows as days are getting shorter, not longer, which removes the bolting trigger entirely and lets the plant put its energy into producing tender, sweet leaves instead. But like spinach, lettuce has its own thermodormancy threshold. Soil temperatures above 80 to 85 degrees can stop germination completely. The workaround is the same idea as before. Pre-chill your seed pack in the fridge for 48 hours before sowing, and water your bed in the evening, so the seeds absorb moisture overnight, during the coolest part of the day, bypassing the heat trigger altogether. One detail that trips people up: lettuce seeds actually need light to germinate. Bury them too deep, and they simply won't sprout. You want them covered with no more than 1/8 of an inch of fine soil. The reward for getting this right is a genuinely sweet, crisp fall lettuce with none of the bitterness summer lettuce is known for. Virginia Cooperative Extension trials found Butter Crunch, lettuce transplanted in late August and covered with fabric in late October, stayed harvestable all the way through December 15th, even in a zone with real winter cold. And that closes out all 7. Kale for toughness, spinach the trick, carrots for the patience, radishes for the speed, beets for the spacing, turnips for the redemption arc, and lettuce for finally getting revenge on summer heat. So here's the real takeaway from all of this. August isn't the end of your garden. For these 7 crops, it's the beginning of the best tasting harvest you'll get all year, and most of that flavor advantage comes down to one thing: cold-induced sweetening. That process is the secret behind almost every "why does this taste so much better in fall" moment gardeners have. If you want to actually understand that science in depth, why frost makes vegetables sweeter, and how to time it so you get maximum flavor without risking real plant damage, that's exactly what we break down in our video on cold-induced sweetening and season extension. It picks up right where this one leaves off. If this helped you get your fall garden on track, drop a comment and let us know which of these 7 you're planting first. Hit like if you found this useful, and subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next.